I never expected to find love in the mansion. My boss, the billionaire, changed my life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air felt heavy, as if a storm was brewing inside me. The silence of the grand hall echoed my frantic heartbeats. My hands trembled as I stared at the ornate crystal chandelier, its brilliance contrasting the dark shadows lurking in the corners of the room. The mansion was a labyrinth of secrets. Gold trim on the walls glinted ominously, and whispers of the past seemed to cling to the velvet drapes. I was just a humble assistant, drowning in my meager paycheck. Yet, somehow, I was drawn to this place, as if it held answers to questions I didn't even know I had. James, my boss, the enigmatic billionaire, took over my thoughts like a thief in the night. He was more than just a man. He was a force of nature. I caught glimpses of his vulnerability beneath the hard exterior, but beneath it all lay a storm of pain. His deep-set eyes held stories of loss, a weight he carried alone. Each time he passed, the air crackled with electricity, causing my breath to hitch. It was in that mansion, lavish yet eerie, that I found myself. I often wondered about the hidden rooms, the national treasures in the art that adorned the walls, mysteries wrapped in conversation. The gardens were overgrown, wildflowers creeping through brick, as though nature itself was trying to reclaim the ground. One evening, while organizing a neglected library, I stumbled upon an old photograph, dust swirling as it fell. It was of James, just a boy, laughing with someone I couldn't make out. His smile was pure. It stabbed me with an ache I didn't understand. Instinctively, I flipped it over, expecting words, but instead, I found nothing. Just the emptiness of unsaid questions. Suddenly, I heard footsteps, the kind that made you stop cold. James stepped into the room, his presence shifting the very atmosphere around me. The air thickened. "What have you found?" he asked, his voice a low rumble that sent shivers skimming down my spine. My stomach fluttered, caught between fear and an overwhelming desire to reach out, to connect. As he neared, I realized that this was just the beginning of unraveling not only his past but my own. The mansion creaked, its walls deciding to bear witness. I could feel a storm brewing. But little did I know, something darker lurked just around the corner. Would I be strong enough to face it? What truths would the mansion reveal? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows of the mansion as I turned to face James. The photograph slipped from my fingers, fluttering to the floor like an autumn leaf. He followed its descent with a gaze that felt both penetrating and distant, a dangerous cocktail of curiosity and grief swirling behind his eyes. "What did you find?" he asked again, softer this time, as if the weight of the question had deepened. I hesitated, caught in the web of his intensity, my heart beating loud enough for him to hear. "It's just an old photo," I whispered, every word barely escaping my lips. "You as a child with someone?" The memory of the boy's laughter lingered like a note from a distant song, one that filled the room with a bittersweet nostalgia. His expression shifted, a fleeting shadow passing over his face. "Who?" The word emerged as a rasp, a reflection of an inner turmoil that I couldn't fully grasp. I couldn't tell. I stopped, the urge to protect him bubbling up, to shield him from whatever heartsickness lay beneath the surface of this photograph. But something deeper compelled me to be honest. "He looks happy." A silence settled between us, charged with unspoken emotions. I longed to reach out, to hold his hand and anchor him in that moment, but the heavy atmosphere pulled me back. Instead, I watched as he turned his gaze to the floor, studying the wooden panels as if they held the answers to secrets too painful to confront. The unease clung to the air, yet in this charged moment, I felt a whisper of something deeper, a connection igniting in the silence. James, I began, my voice trembling with cautious vulnerability. You don't always have to carry everything alone. He looked up at me then, and for a heartbeat I saw the boy from the picture fighting to break free from the man carved by loss. The flicker of recognition in his eyes momentarily softened his usually stoic demeanor. Then, he steeled himself, the mask slipping back into place. Don't, he said, but I could sense the battle waging behind his calm facade. Before I could respond, the lights flickered ominously. My pulse quickened as shadows danced along the walls. I was about to brush it off as a coincidence when the grand clock in the hall struck midnight with a haunting resonance, and a thud echoed from the hallway, sending icy fingers up my spine. James turned abruptly, transforming from a moment of tender edification into a vigilant protector. Stay here, he instructed, his voice clipped and authoritative, and he moved swiftly toward the door, his figure silhouetted against the unsettling gloom of the mansion. There was a desperate urge to follow him, but part of me froze in place. What if the secrets buried in these walls were worse than I imagined? The thud had been closer now, resonating again, and I felt more than heard the tension, both palpable and thick. Just as I gathered the resolve to move, an echo of footsteps pierced through the hall, soft yet deliberate. My body stiffened. I clutched the edge of the nearest bookshelf for support, eyes trained on the door as it slowly creaked open to reveal an unexpected figure. Lucas? I gasped, bewildered. It was James' estranged brother, the one who had been a ghost in the stories whispered among the maids. He looked markedly different than the sweet boy in the photo. Darkness clung to him like a cloak. There was pain etched in his features, mirroring James' own, but his presence was laced with something far more sinister. What are you doing here? I managed to stammer, the air thick with uncertainty. I need to talk to James, Lucas replied, and there was a tension in his voice that sent chills surging through me. It's about our past and what's about to occur in this house. Panic surged, a wild heartbeat in my chest, as I glanced toward the hallway where James had disappeared. Something deep within me screamed that the mansion was about to reveal secrets that would change everything, and the truth was often darker than we ever wished to uncover. Please, Lucas continued, eyes pleading yet wild. We don't have much time. As I stood there, caught between two brothers, the mansion seemed to hold its breath, the storm growing ever closer. What chaos lay waiting, and would I have the strength to face it? The air around us crackled with an energy that made it feel as if the very walls of the mansion were leaning in, straining to overhear what was about to unfold. Lucas took a step forward, his eyes darting towards the hallway, then back to me, as if weighing my worthiness to be part of whatever storm was brewing. I could see he was a man split down the middle, tormented yet desperate for clarity. Lucas, wait! I shouted, but the words fell flat against his urgent demeanor. He was already moving, brushing past me with a purpose that left me startled. My heart raced as I fought against the instinct to follow him, a part of me feeling that intercepting him would be a mistake. Outside, the storm continued to brew, wind howling like a siren's call, but inside the mansion, there was a different kind of tempest, one filled with unsaid truths and unresolved pain. In that moment, the words of my own doubts collided with the gravity that surrounded Lucas. Would discovering the secrets of the past bind us or tear us apart? Against the stormy backdrop, I felt a flicker of warmth amid the chaos, a strange force coaxing me toward Lucas. I needed to know why he had come. Lucas! I called again, this time catching his attention, causing him to turn, his brow furrowing at my insistence. What do you mean by what's about to occur? Is it about James? Please, you need to tell me. He remained silent for a moment that stretched like a thread, taut and fragile. Then, with a resigned sigh, he took a half-step back, his voice just above a whisper. It's about what we lost and what we stand to lose again. In an instant, the gravity of his words began to settle deep within me, an unsettling realization weaving through my mind. I thought of James, a man who wore his scars like battle trophies yet still carried that flicker of hope behind his steely gaze. What darkness had he not shared? What silent battles were waged within those abandoned hallways? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed up the staircase, shaking my resolve. We have to find him, I urged, moving to the stairway. We can't leave him alone. He needs us. With a reluctant nod, Lucas followed. Together, we climbed the grand staircase, our footsteps muffled by the ancient carpet, both of us tethered by a shared urgency yet separated by the shadows that loomed in his gaze. The upper landing stood eerie and still, illuminated only by the pallor of moonlight filtering in through the grand windows. As we approached James' room, a pulse of fear gripped my heart. I felt as if we were intruding on a tender revelation, one that had the potential to either heal or shatter the fragile bonds tethering us to this strange family. Just as we reached the door, a voice resonated from within. "James?" I called, a whisper barely escaping my lips. The sound of despair mingled with fear, reverberating off the walls. My heart sank at the raw emotion laced in that one syllable. "Don't open it!" Lucas hissed, but it was too late. Without a second thought, I turned the knob, my heart pounding as I pushed the door open. The room was dimly lit, the curtains billowing slightly as if breathing with life, an odd contrast to the tension swirling in the air. James stood near the window, his back to us, shoulders tense, hands balled at his sides. "James!" I rushed forward, but my steps faltered as I glimpsed the figure slumped on the floor, pale, lifeless, the light catching the silver frame of a familiar photograph that lay near the lifeless body. No, I gasped, eyes widening as I recognized the boy from the photograph that had slipped through my fingers just moments before. What happened here? The room began to spin, the gravity of the moment threatening to pull me under. I could feel Lucas' presence behind me, a storm of conflicting emotions as uncertainty held its grip on us both. James slowly turned, his face lit by the moonlight, but it no longer bore the kindness I had come to recognize. Instead, I seen shadows of fury and grief redefining the contours of his expression. "I told you to stay away from this." His voice was thick, torn by everything he had chosen to hide. "James, we can't ignore this. We have to figure out what's going on," I pleaded, taking a step toward him. The photograph lay like a bridge between us, both a connection and an abyss. He took a deep breath, the air heavy with unsaid words, haunted by memories swirling around us like ghosts. "You shouldn't have come here, either of you. There are things in this house that should never see the light of day." Before I could respond, the power flickered again, causing the room to brighten and darken in rapid succession. In that hurried flash, I saw the flicker of recognition in James' eyes, the layers of grief and scars peeling back to reveal a truth that could shatter worlds. And just as quickly, the shadows of the night obscured it once more, but the revelation loomed closer, like the distant rumble of thunder announcing its arrival. "We're not safe here," Lucas said quietly, and though the gloom pressed down all around us, I choked on the sudden weight of disbelief. "Safe from what?" I managed, the shattering silence suffocating. The storm outside roared back to life, drowning my question. But with each crash of thunder, a deeper understanding settled in the pit of my stomach. Something treacherous lay waiting within the shadows of the mansion, and our search was far from over. The storm crept closer, each rumble an echo of the truths we had yet to face. The overwhelming silence in James's room stretched painfully as I tried to process the scene before me. The photograph on the floor, with its edges crumpled, seemed to pulse with the weight of untold stories. I sank to my knees to retrieve it, my fingers trembling as they brushed the surface, knowing somehow that it was pivotal to everything that had spiraled out of control. James' cold gaze bore down on me, yet I couldn't pull my eyes away from the image of the boy, his smile frozen in time, vibrant against the dull backdrop of despair. It was a mirror to a life once filled with light, but now cast into shadow. I glanced back at James, searching for answers, and saw the vulnerability flash behind his turbulence, momentarily tearing down the walls he had built. "You both need to leave," he said, his voice sharper than intended, but the tremble in it betrayed a heart wrestling with unshared memories. I wished there were words capable of breaking through his walls, but even in our shared chaos, I felt like a stranger invited to bear witness to a tragedy of his own making. "James, please," I implored, the photograph cradled in my hand, "this is so much bigger than us. We can't ignore what happened here." Lucas shifted beside me, his unsettling presence stealing me, though the flicker of fear returned in his eyes, a mirror of my own. I could see him wrestling with unquiet legacies, the struggles of his own past looping into the present. Let's figure this out together. Whatever's haunting you, well, face it, no. The word exploded from James, slicing through the tension like lightning. You don't understand what you're getting into. I can't lose anyone else. The weight of his anguish settled like a fog in the room. My heart twisted, realizing the depths of his pain, knowing there were demons in every shadow that had disguised themselves as family and safety. Maybe even the very person standing beside me. James, you won't lose us, I breathed, reaching for him, desperate to breach the gulf of despair that yawned between us. We're here. We want to help. But as I drew closer, the storm outside intensified, crashing against the windows like angry spirits. The flickering lights seemed to mimic our growing anxiety, casting faults of shadow over James' face, and in that moment, my heart plummeted. His features were distorted, not just with sorrow but with something darker, something that even I couldn't recognize under the weight of grief and fear. The sudden creak of the door behind us sliced through the hush like a knife. I turned quickly, the photograph slipping through my fingers and fluttering to the ground. A figure lingered in the threshold, a silhouette dripping with shadows, cloaked in the very essence of the tension that thrummed in the house. James, the voice was low and almost unrecognizable, sending a shiver down my spine. I told you to leave it alone. Uncertainty thickened the air, a chill settling over us as we recognized the newcomer Mara, a cousin of James who had long occupied the periphery of our lives. Anger and desperation etched her features as she stepped into the room, revealing a sense of urgency that clashed with that familiar darkness. What are you doing here? James snapped, panic lacing his tone. She stepped closer, her gaze flitting from me to Lucas, then back again. You don't get to decide who stays and who goes. If you don't act now, everything we've tried to protect will come crashing down around us. Before I could retort, she crossed the room, standing resolute before James. You think you're protecting us? You're only creating a bigger chasm. Find the truth, or we risk losing everything. The emotions in the room surged: grief, fury, and a flicker of underlying familial loyalty that glimmered through the tumultuous air. Uncertainty tightened its grip on me, every instinct warning that whatever Mara knew was woven into the very fabric of this haunting house. That I dared to glance at Lucas, only to find his features twisted in confusion as a new layer of secrets unspilled right before us. What are you talking about? He asked warily, tension coiling tighter among us. Something and someone has been watching us, Mara said, her voice dropping to a whisper that barely transcended the howling wind outside. It's what took them, it will take more. If we don't uncover the depth of the past, it could come for all of us. The revelation struck like a bolt of lightning, illuminating a path fraught with peril and shadows. My heart raced not solely from fear but from the unfurling sense of purpose ignited within me. We can do this, I breathed, eyes steady on James. Well, find the truth together, whatever it is. You're not alone. For a fleeting moment, I hoped he would reach for my hand, that the space between us would close. Instead, he recoiled slightly, the shadows reclaiming him. The storm outside reached a crescendo, and with it, an intensity surged within the mansion, leaving the air charged with a new revelation. We were ensnared in something bigger than any of us had anticipated. And just then, a loud crash of thunder echoed through the house, rattling the very foundations and shaking the fragile trust we had created. The lights flickered ominously, then plunged us into near-complete darkness, leaving only the haunting sound of the storm and the distorted weight of all we had yet to face. Beside me, the flicker of Lucas' hand brushed against mine in the dim light, a tiny spark amidst the darkness, offering strength that hung precariously against the impending threat that loomed outside our fragile sanctuary. But as thoughts whirled in my head, one glaring truth crystallized. The storm was more than just a tempest outside. It was seeping into the very core of our beings, threatening to unleash a darkness none of us could outrun. As the darkness enveloped us, hearts racing and breaths shallow, anxiety gripped each corner of the room. The storm outside raged on, almost mocking our confusion and despair, as if nature itself was aware of the turmoil gnawing at our souls. I could feel the weight of Mara's words bearing down heavier with each clap of thunder, laced in foreboding. Let's turn on the flashlights, I suggested, desperately trying to restore some semblance of normality. I turned to Lucas, who managed a tense nod, and we scrambled together, finding our phones and illuminating the room with their weak, flickering glow. James remained still, the shadows of the room wrapping around him like a shroud. "You shouldn't be here," he murmured, his voice nearly drowned out by the gusting winds, his eyes fixed on Mara like she was both home and a stranger. "You think bursting into my life will change anything? I won't let you drag me down with you." Mara took a step forward, an unexpected tenderness in her usually fiercely guarded demeanor. "James, you might be right. I've made mistakes. But it's not just you I'm here for. We need to come together. We owe it to them. Don't you want to know what really happened?" I watched as James' anger flickered, vulnerability crackling just below the surface. The storm's rage swelled outside, but Moray's resolve had reframed our own turmoil into something almost palpably a shared mission. "Look," I said, feeling a surge of courage, "everyone deserves closure, even you. We're stronger together. You were not meant to bear this alone." As I spoke, a faint light flickered from behind the layers of shadows in the room. A mere table lamp flickered to life, catching everyone's attention. Its struggle against the encroaching darkness seemed symbolic of our own fight against the shadows that threatened to consume us. "What's going on?" Mara placed her hands on her hips, her resolve fueling the fragile light that dared to shine. "Maybe it wants us to find something," Lucas suggested quietly, his eyes darting to the shadows. "Maybe it's a sign." Encouraged by his spirit, I nodded. "We can start looking through the house. There has to be something here that reveals the truth." James finally stood, his posture rigid yet softened with a newfound determination as the beam of light caught his gaze. "No more hiding," he said, meeting each of our eyes, first Mara, then mine, ultimately landing on Lucas. "If we're doing this, we move together, and no one gets left behind." The solidarity that gathered in that moment ignited hope against the oppressive darkness. Steeling ourselves, we ventured outside of James' room, the rays of our phones lighting the way through the unfamiliar halls adorned with dust and memories. Each lingering shadow felt like a reminder of everything that had been lost, but also everything that was still to be uncovered. As we tiptoed toward the attic, long abandoned and rarely spoken of, I could feel the air thrumming with tension and something else, anticipation. The attic door creaked open as we pushed through, revealing a musty space filled with cobwebs and time-worn boxes. Mara stepped forward, brushing aside debris, as if something unseen urged her. "This is where Mom kept the old journals." Everything from before her voice trailed off, swimming in waves of unspoken sorrow as she pried open an old trunk. With trembling hands, she retrieved a weathered book, its spine cracked with years of being untouched. "Here." Her eyes shone with a mix of excitement and trepidation as I moved closer to peer over her shoulder, the scent of time radiating from the pages. "What does it say?" Lucas urged gently, inching closer. As Mara flipped through pages lined with neatly penned words, her brows furrowed. "These are her thoughts about everything. The family, the losses," and her voice caught sharply. "There are mentions of someone named Eva. She was tied to the Pasta sister, a ghost of memories long buried. My heart raced. There was something about Eva that felt achingly familiar. What does it say about her? Is there anything to help us understand?" Mara scanned the pages, growing increasingly pale. "It doesn't describe her in a negative light, but it speaks of her in ways that hint at something darker. Secrets she was keeping, and something about shadows growing inside this house. About making deals. About being watched." Just then, a strong gust of wind rattled the attic window, forcing it wide open, chilling us to the bone. The light flickered as dust swirled around us, and I swore I heard whispers, the echoes of past truths clawing to be freed. Mara's voice trembled, and she whispered, "What have we awakened?" Suddenly, the peculiar energy we felt began to morph, coiling around us as if eager to divulge its burdens. I glanced at James and Lucas, their expressions reflecting the same mixture of fear and intrigue. It was the storm inside the mansion, awakened and restless. "Close it," James shouted amidst the howling wind. "We need to," but before he could finish, the chest Mara had unearthed slammed shut, causing the room to darken around us. The lights flickered violently before extinguishing entirely, plunging us into darkness once more, as the attic door slammed down behind us, sealing us into a cacophony of shadow. My heart leaped into my throat. We were truly trapped, and with every breath I took, I felt the house swell with secrets unsaid, and a haunting realization sank into my bones. What if releasing these truths brought forth a chaos beyond our understanding? With panic racing through my veins, a whisper floated through the air as if the mansion itself was breathing. The shadows are here, and they will find you. The storm raged on, and in that moment, we became prisoners not merely of a house, but of the very truths we dared to confront. The oppressive silence wrapped around us like a cold blanket, every heartbeat echoing louder than the storm outside. I could barely catch my breath, panic fluttering in my chest as I stared wide-eyed at the wall, the echoes of the whispers still lingering in the air. The shadows shifted around us, alive with intent, like dark tendrils inching closer. Mara! My voice cracked, fear leaking through the cracks of my resolve. What do we do? James, his jaw set tight and his fists clenched, stared at the door, as if willing it to reopen. Stay calm, he said, but there was a tremor in his voice betraying his own fear. We just need to find a way out. The wind howled outside, the storm raging with a fury that seemed to pulse through the very walls of the house. I heard the sharp intake of breath beside me. Lucas was just as frightened, yet he stepped closer to Mara, urging her to regain her composure. It was a moment of unexpected connection, a softening of the tension that sparked a flicker of warmth amid the cold dread. Mara took a deep breath, her hands trembling as she clutched the weather journal. There has to be something in here, something to explain. Her voice cracked, and the urgency in her eyes reflected a fierce determination woven with sorrow. We owe it to ourselves to understand. With the darkness wrapping around us, I took a small step forward, not wanting to be swallowed by the fear. Let's read more. There's still light from our phones. The flickering screens provided a fragile sense of sanctuary against the shadows. As Mara flipped through the journal's pages, I caught glimpses of fragmented memories, lines about family secrets, lost connections, and haunting choices that pulled at my heart with a sad familiarity. There were entries referencing happiness twisted with anguish, tales of laughter drowned in sorrow, and a recurring mention of shadows looming over the family, haunting their every move. What if these shadows are more than just memories? I asked, my voice a breathless whisper. What if they are real? Mara's gaze met mine, a glimmer of recognition igniting between us. What if Eva wasn't just an innocent sister? What if she paused, scanning the page? What if she was the reason behind it all? The cause of the darkness? James tugged at his hair, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. But why? Why would a sister bring such anguish? We need answers, not more questions. Before any of us could affirm James' sentiment, the wind outside howled louder, almost as if it carried an answer. We exchanged uneasy glances, shifting uncomfortably in the thickening atmosphere. I could feel the fear pressing in on us, suffocating yet oddly familiar, as if the shadows were sharing their own stories with us, tales that wove intricately with our own lives. With renewed urgency ignited by fear, we pressed on. Let's focus, I urged, desperately wanting to shatter the heavy doubt that lingered in the air. What else does it say? Mara flipped another page, revealing rough sketches embedded between lines of prose. Look here, she said, her voice steadier now. Drawings of a young girl with haunting eyes and a flower crown. Her finger traced the delicate ink. This must be Eva. She looks so ethereal. Lucas leaned over, curiosity fueling his eyes while his fingers grazed the nearest box, nudging at dust that had settled undisturbed. These artifacts must mean something. Maybe they unlock more than just memories. They could lead us to understanding why the shadows haunt this place. Just as Lucas mentioned the artifacts, a low thrum vibrated beneath our feet, causing the attic to shudder. The room darkened, and in an instant the sound of wood creaking echoed, overlapping with the howling wind. What was that? James shouted, panic seeping into his tone. Then the whispers returned, clearer this time, swirling around us like a mournful melody. My pulse quickened, and I felt the cold tentacles of fear wrap tighter. What are you trying to tell us? I whispered to unseen forces, feeling foolish yet compelled. Suddenly, Mara gasped, dropping the journal as her hand flew to her mouth. It can't be, my breath caught as I turned to her. What is it? She pointed at the last umber-smeared drawing, nearly obscured by aged paper. It's a house. But it's not just any house. It's this one. Her eyes filled with dread. The drawing depicted the very walls that enclosed us, with eerie, shadowy figures hovering around its edges. This must be the mansion, and the figures, they look like those lost. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. This house was alive with the presence of the past, intertwining our lives with theirs, binding us in a shared destiny fraught with peril. A chilling thought crossed my mind. What if we were meant to unlock this darkness? What if we were entwined with its secrets, forced to unravel them piece by piece? Suddenly, the attic doors shuddered violently, rattling against the frame as if someone or something was trying to break through. Panic surged through me, and as the air crackled with electricity and desperation, I grabbed the edges of the table for support. Mara, I choked out, we might be in over our heads. We need to. Without warning, the door burst open, revealing a dark figure standing at the threshold, silhouetted against the stormy night. Its presence loomed, an embodiment of the shadows we had awakened, and in that spine-chilling moment, I knew we were not alone, and the secrets we sought to unveil would not surrender easily. Welcome, it whispered, its voice a chilling breeze through the tense silence. The storm surrounding us intensified, sealing our fate in ways we could never have imagined. The figure stepped inside, and the flickering glow of our phones cast a weak light across its features. A shroud of darkness clung to it, but I could make out the outline of a woman, her long hair billowing like tendrils of smoke. The air thickened, as if time itself had decided to hold its breath. "Who are you?" James snapped, the bravado in his voice masking the tremor beneath. "What do you want from us?" The woman tilted her head, her eyes voids of despair and longing held a power over the room. "You came seeking truths," she replied, each word a whisper that resonated with sorrow. "But the truths you seek come with a price. What kind of price?" Mara's voice wavered, her earlier confidence diminishing under the weight of the moment. As we stood together, the bonds forged in fear were somehow comforting. "The price of understanding." The woman stepped closer, and as she moved, the shadows in the room surged with her, gathering around her like a dark cloak. "Each of you holds a part of this family's legacy. Eva was not the monster you think. She was the vessel of pain, trapped between worlds, her cries echoing through generations. Lucas, his gaze darting between us and the figure, whispered, "What do you mean? How can we help? You need to face the darkness," she said, motioning toward the journal. "Eva did not mean to bring calamity. She was a victim of circumstance, of love, betrayal, and the unseen. As her words washed over us, a warmth flickered beneath my skin, as if she were offering a shard of hope amidst the encroaching chill. But just as quickly anxiety clawed at my throat, knowing that stepping closer to the truth could unravel us further. "But what if we fail?" I asked, my heart racing. "What if we unleash something worse?" Her gaze bore into mine, and I sensed a sliver of understanding. "The fear of failure only stifles courage. Open your hearts and unravel the burdens tied to these shadows. Only then can healing commence." For a moment, I thought about the burdens we all carried, our losses, our regrets, and the haunting weight of our own fears. Perhaps we needed each other more than we realized. But I could feel the pressure mounting around us, like a storm that rumbled just beneath the surface, threatening to spiral out of control. "Tell us how," Mara urged fiercely, clutching the journal tightly, as if hoping it would provide an answer. The woman's face softened slightly. "To find Eva, to understand her pain, you must delve into your own hearts. Seek the love lost, find the connection severed." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the house, causing us to jump. The storm had taken on a monstrous life of its own outside, thrashing against the walls as if echoing the chaos within. "No!" James yelled, turning to the open door. "We can't do this now, we have no choice," Lucas countered, rising from his crouch, his eyes determined. "We've come too far. If we leave now, we might be leaving behind answers that could save us all." I looked back at the figure, her expression shifting as if she sensed our hesitation. You can choose to flee, but the shadows will follow. They are bound to you, drawn to your fear. Tension electrified the air, a battle waging between our instinct to run and the flicker of courage that urged us to stay. I could see the fear reflected in Mara's eyes, yet there was a kernel of determination nestled there too, and it reignited my own resolve. Together, I said, raising my chin in defiance against the darkness surrounding us. Whatever we face, we'll face it together. The woman extended her arm, inviting us to draw closer. Then embark on your quest. Seek Eva and unlock the heart of the shadows. But in doing so, be prepared to confront not only her past but the secrets hidden in your own hearts. A palpable shift in the air surrounded us as we gathered around her, the chill giving way to warmth as if we were reawakened to our own fears. The shadows, less threatening now, formed almost an embrace around us, urging us closer to our intertwined fates. We exchanged resolute glances, each of us knowing that whatever awaited us in the depths of the mansion was as bound to our hearts as we were to one another. Just then, the front door slammed shut with a deafening thud, a barrier confining our destinies within these walls. Your first step, the woman said softly, lies buried in the garden at dawn. Each of you carries a key. Uncover it, and you will pave the way to EVA. As the words settled, I felt a stirring as the others nodded in agreement. The path before us was shrouded in uncertainty, but with every heartbeat, we were edging closer to a truth that might shatter us or unite us like never before. The sky outside crackled with lightning, illuminating the room for a fleeting moment, and casting long shadows that twisted on the walls. Just then, the figure faded back into the darkness, leaving us to wonder if we could truly grasp the love buried within these haunting memories. And with that, an unexpected weight pressed against my chest, a sense of foreboding mingled with an undeniable glimmer of hope. I couldn't quite shake the feeling that what awaited us in the garden would alter the fabric of our lives more than we had ever imagined. Together, I whispered once more, a promise resonating in the depths of the mansion. But as we stood there, the shadows outside grew restless, and I felt a chilling realization creep in, a truth we had yet to uncover just beyond our reach, instilled with a terrifying certainty our lives were not the only ones intertwined in this place. As dawn's first light crept through the shattered windows of the mansion, the world outside seemed cleansed anew, though the chill remained in our bones. I could hear the wind whispering secrets, intertwining with the echoes of our resolve. The journal lay open between us, its pages filled with faded ink and scrawled truths waiting for our touch. Should we start in the garden? Lucas suggested, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. That's where she said to look. I glanced at the others, noting the uncertainty mirrored in their faces. Mara, usually fierce and unyielding, now held a hint of doubt in her eyes. I couldn't help but wonder if we were simply pawns in a game far beyond our comprehension. Each step could lead us deeper into a darkness we might never return from. Let's, I said, offering a weak smile. We'll begin here and see what we find. As we made our way through the heavy wooden door, the garden loomed ahead, overgrown and wild, but with an undeniable charm beneath the neglect, a wild beauty that whispered of years gone by, much like our own lives. I could feel an almost magnetic pull toward the rusty gate that led deeper into the thicket. The sun broke through the clouds, washing the garden in a golden hue. The gentle warmth lulled me into a sense of security that didn't quite match the anxiety gnawing at my insides. That's it! James shouted, standing beside an ancient oak tree, its twisted roots breaking through the earth like the memories of our shared histories. He pointed to the moss-covered stone that jutted from the ground, its edges sharp with age. There's something here. Our small group gathered around the stone, its presence almost unsettling. As we leaned in, I noticed something glinting beneath the thick layer of moss. With a sudden burst of courage, I knelt and brushed away the years of debris. The revelation sent a shiver up my spine. A locket, intricately designed with delicate floral patterns, revealed itself beneath the earth. Look, I exclaimed, holding it up to the morning light. The locket was undeniably beautiful, yet I felt a pulse of unease emanate from it. What do you think it is? Mara's brow furrowed in concentration. It could belong to Eva. She was attached to this place, after all. A solemn silence fell over us as we pondered its significance, but before we could articulate our thoughts, A low rumble echoed through the garden. The ground trembled slightly, causing the leaves to shiver in response, each of us momentarily frozen by an impending sense of doom. Then, as if waiting for our reaction, a voice erupted from behind the bushes. "What have you found, my friends?" We turned collectively to face a figure emerging from the shadows, a man, tall and striking, his dark hair tousled and wild like the underbrush around us. There was something painfully familiar about him, intensifying the chill racing down my spine. It's you!" I stammered, recognizing him from days gone past, a fleeting image, a shared moment on the edge of familiarity. Daniel, my boss, the enigmatic billionaire who had never left my thoughts despite our brief encounters. The memories of whispered conversations filled my mind, his laughter mingled with the light of day. "What brings you here?" he asked, stepping closer. His eyes, twin pools of intensity, locked onto mine, igniting forgotten feelings like sparks caught in a dry brush. "How do you know we're here?" James demanded, suspicion edging into his tone. "Why are you in this place?" Daniel's gaze flickered to the locket in my hand, then back to us, suddenly serious. "I've been searching for Eva, too. She is part of this family's history, one that is close to mine as well. The shadows that intertwine are not merely hers but extend far and wide. My heart raced. The weight of the locket in my palm began to feel both burdensome and impactful, swirling with the memories of love, loss, and a potential connection. "What do you know?" I pressed, unable to look away from him as the past merged with the present, making me question the depths of the shadows we would delve into together. He took a step forward, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "I know more than I should about Eva, about the pain she carried. It is essential that you understand the ties you have to her if you wish to confront the darkness. Together, we can unveil the truth that binds our fates. A shared understanding passed through our group, igniting fears and desires hidden away, yet the moment was short-lived. From behind Daniel, a sudden crash shattered the serenity. Startled, we all spun around to see what remained of the garden's privacy being uprooted. The wind picked up, twisting and thrashing against the trees, pulling at the boundaries of our space. "What is happening?" Mara shouted, her voice strained against the howling wind. The ground cracked at our feet, and a voice infiltrated the air, distorted and ethereal. "You have awakened the past. Now face it, or face destruction." In that chilling moment, a melody of pain echoed between worlds, and I could feel the locket growing heavier in my grasp. The garden transformed around us like a nightmare, revealing fragments long buried, a swirling tempest of memory, love betrayed, and a torment that begged for resolution. What had we waded into? And what darkness would be set free within us as we fought to uncover the truth about Eva's haunting legacy? We were drawn together, yet with every heartbeat, I felt the fear tightening its grip around my heart as I realized something far deeper tied me to both Eva and Daniel. Just as the shadows danced wildly around us, wrapping us in their suffocating embrace, another voice whispered in my mind a truth I had yet to confront. Love had never been confined to one person. The connections we created could mend or shatter us, and perhaps we held the key to each other's salvation. But just as clarity surged through me, I heard Lucas' anguished cry, "Run! It's coming!" Another crash reverberated around us, and my heart sank. My grip on the locket tightened, and the realization hit like a crashing wave. We weren't just looking for answers about Eva. We might awaken something even deeper and darker than we had anticipated. And as I looked into Daniel's eyes, connection sparking with both fear and desire, I knew one thing for certain: we were all intertwined in this haunting, desperately searching for the light to guide us home. As the frenzied wind howled through the gnarled branches, it felt as if the mansion itself was protesting our intrusion, rebelling against the weight of the secrets lying beneath its surface. Every crack of thunder heightened my anxiety, the echoing urgency in Lucas' voice pulling me back to the present, back to the decision we were about to make together. But how could we run when the answers lay just within reach? I could feel them, shimmering just beyond the chaos, intertwined with the locket in my palm. I took a steadying breath, the metallic tang of fear mixing with the scent of damp earth. "Don't run!" I shouted, forcing the words through my growing panic. "We need to stand firm. We need to find out what this means first." Mara's eyes narrowed as she extracted herself from the instinct to flee. But how? This isn't just a storm, it's something more, something alive. Her voice caught on the last word, revealing her own mounting dread. Daniel, palpable intensity radiating from him like a protective shield, nodded toward the swirling shadows creeping closer. We cannot let fear dictate our actions. The truth lies within this chaos. Everything revolves around Eva. It always has. Yet, even as he spoke the words convinced, yet tentative, I could see the uncertainty lurking in his eyes, mirrored in all of ours. My heart echoed the thundering sky above, caught between longing and fear, clarity and confusion. Could we unravel the ties that bound us, or would we fall victim to the darkness that seemed to extend its fingers toward us? Okay, I breathed, looking from one face to another, each friend bearing a story, a heart filled with their own burdens. We'll find a way through this. Together. What do we know about Eva? What secrets can this garden tell us? The earth groaned beneath us, shards of stone threatening to shift again, but I remained anchored in the present, hoping this small moment of resolve could push back against the barrage of fear. James, still crouched near the ancient tree, shifted through the debris. Eva hid clues everywhere, he murmured, his brow furrowed as he delved into the earth, fingers brushing against relics of the past. It's like she anticipated this moment. Or maybe it's a trap, Mara whispered, glancing around nervously. Part of a bigger narrative we don't understand yet. I refuse to sit quietly and let uncertainty rule our fates, Daniel interjected, his voice resolute despite the chaos. The storm intensified, branches cracking overhead. We need to uncover the truth, no matter how painful. With renewed vigor, we gathered our resolve, sharing silent nods of affirmation, one by one. I felt Daniel's gaze linger on me, a connection stirring as a warmth seeped deeper than the fear crisping the cold autumn air. It felt wrong yet so very right, beckoning me toward the uncertain promise of love amidst turmoil. The storm was an unexpected reflection of our lives, dark and tumultuous but ripe with the possibility of rebirth. A flicker of intent ignited something in me, pushing anxiety aside to embrace the thrill of discovery as we dug through the remnants of Eva's life. As I reshaped the earth, brushing away moss and soft earth, another glint caught my eye. I unearthed a small, tarnished key. Its surface was worn, and I felt a deep sense of history ingrained in the metal. I held it tightly, visualizing its purpose. What do you think this opens? I mused aloud, recalling Daniel's earlier mention of Eva's hidden truths. The basement, Daniel answered, an uneasiness weaving through his words. It was a simple response, yet the weight of it implied so much more. A dark, potentially dangerous world lying beneath us, waiting to be discovered. Then we must go one step closer to uncovering her truth, I replied, looking at my companions, feeling an overwhelming sense of responsibility for everyone. Just then, the garden erupted in another violent gust, almost as if it were protesting our decision. Shadows danced wildly, and somewhere in the chaos, I thought I heard a familiar sweet sound, a deafening whisper ringing hope from the past. Release what has been hidden. But the tumult around us grew deafening, drowning out any remaining trace of clarity. With shaking hands, I slid the key into my pocket, unsure of what lay ahead or what I might awaken. "I'll lead the way," Daniel offered, moving to the front. "You should all stay behind me." Fear curled back into my chest as he stepped over the threshold towards the mansion's crumbling entrance. His shadow cast long against the doorway, an interface between light and dark. "Wait!" I yelled, suddenly conscious of a nagging concern that gnawed at me like an echo urging caution. "We need to stick together." But before I could pull my friends back, a sudden cry rang out from behind us. "No! Look out!" Turning, I watched in horror as a heavy branch, stripped of its bark, cracked loose from a nearby tree and fell toward Lucas, who stood frozen with shock. Time slowed as I lunged forward, heart pounding, alive with instinct and adrenaline. In that split second, love, fear, and desperation collided, unraveling the threads binding us in solidarity against the storm. I threw myself at him, our bodies colliding under the weight of impending disaster. The impact forced us both to the ground as the branch splintered the air above us. Damp earth met my palms, mingled with the scent of petrichor. I could sense a dangerous shift taking hold, the past coiling tighter around us like a vice, waiting to unleash its wrath. As we lay there on the garden floor, breathless and shaken, I turned to Lucas, whose wide eyes met mine, sparkling with questions and fear. And all the while, Daniel's voice echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder that we were nearing the edge of something profound, something that would change everything. But with that thought came the chilling realization: we had stumbled too close to the secrets buried beneath that garden, and whatever we found had the potential to bind or shatter us all. Just as we regained composure, a distant figure emerged from the burgeoning haze. Its silhouette was familiar yet foreign, another encounter with long-buried memories. My heart dropped as I recognized the fragile outline of Eva herself, standing sepulchral and sorrowful in the garden's waning light. "Help me," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the chaos, beckoning us into the depths of the unknown. And just like that, love, fear, and every buried truth we had unearthed hand in hand with hope collided, pushing us irrevocably into the darkness that awaited us. Even in the darkness, I could see her sadness, a palpable weight that pressed against me like a heavy shroud. Eva stood, her ethereal visage flickering like a candle's flame, illuminating the chaos of our surroundings. The invitation in her haunting eyes resonated deep within my core. She was both the question and the answer, the ghost that breathed life into the memories entangling us all. "Help me," she implored again, her voice barely more than a shiver against the storm's wailing chorus. I felt that impossible pull toward her, and in that moment, all the weight of my fears and desires collided within me, a tempest of longing woven with the unshakable awareness that love had never been neatly defined. It was a tangled web of sacrifices and reconciliations, and perhaps the key that could unlock the pain bound to her darkness lay not only in her story but in our own. "Eva, we're here!" I called out, rising from the ground as Lucy pulled us to our feet together, the weight of her ethereal form sparking something raw and fierce within me. "We will help you. We can set you free." The air crackled around us, and with it swept a gust of cold that stung our skin, but I pushed through, reaching that fragile connection she offered. "Tell us what we need to do. What binds you here?" Caught between worlds, she hovered in shadows mingled with promise, revealing glimpses of the truth we could barely grasp. "Unravel the threads of your own hearts," she whispered, each word laced with sorrow. "Only then can you understand mine." Images flashed through my mind, memories of love and loss we all shared, hopes extinguished like the last light of day. There it was, my connection to Eva, reflection of my own losses, an echo of a path I too had walked. "We're doing this together," I said firmly, knowing I would not face the darkness without the strength of my friends by my side. "It's time for all of us together," Daniel added, stepping forward with resolve etched into his expression. "We must confront the shadows that bind us to her," he echoed, refusing to let fear claim us. Beside me, Lucas entwined his fingers with mine, a unison of strength born from fear that drew forth warmth amidst the chill. "What are you not telling us?" he demanded, voice brimming with emotion, eyes darting between Eva and Daniel. "We can't unstitch the past if you keep us in the dark." Suddenly, there was a tremor beneath our feet, as if the earth was responding to our confessions. "Everything you fear is rooted in love, the love that turned toxic, turned to shadows." Eva's voice quaked. She was more than a ghost. She was a mirror reflecting the pain of each choice made in love and loss, the frayed edges of our stories all entangled in a web of yearning for connection. "The past is not simply buried, it is woven into the fabric of your lives," she urged us, golden light spilling from her as the wind swirled around, striking an unseen chord in our hearts. "But you must confront the original wound. Each connection torn will lead you closer to healing." A shiver raced through me. I shared a glance with James, our eyes filled with an unspoken acknowledgement of the past that haunted him as much as it haunted me. This was the moment to confront the painful legacies we were carrying. I knew it wouldn't be easy, and the risk for us all was immense. "James," I began hesitantly, "what if we journey through our stories and release the burdens we're holding? We are tethered together through love and loss. What if we gathered our truths and faced them?" He hesitated, uncertainty etched across his features. "But what if it shatters us?" His voice trembled, the vulnerability was breathtaking. What if digging into the dark leads to darkness within me? Or what if it heals you? I countered softly, stepping closer. What if we embrace every aspect of our journeys, the pain, the love, the forgotten? Together we might give Eva the closure she needs, and we might find the peace we're searching for. Eva's form glowed more brightly, the flicker of hope illuminating the shadows. You truly have the power to help me, to heal all of us, she beckoned, glancing imploringly at Lucas, James, and Mara. Retrieve what was stolen. Facing what binds you will set me free. A steely resolve coursed through me. I turned to my friends, the bonds drawing tighter around all four of us. We might not know every darkness we'll confront, but the love we share is our light. Let's begin with the very essence of who we are together. One by one, we took our places in front of Eva while the wind howled, and the world twisted around. Bound now by love, intertwined in our fates, we prepared to confront the shadows of our interconnected lives, understanding that it was not only Eva we were unleashing but also the collective burdens we carry, the scars of the past aching to be mended. As we joined hands, I felt a warm surge of energy flow between us, weaving us together in a tapestry of hope poised against the shadows. Tell us what we need to do, I urged, and without hesitation, we stepped into the circle of light, ready to face the darkness. As our shadows merged with Eva's flickering silhouette, her voice humming with ethereal grace, we found our strength to confront the core of our connected history. Together, you can navigate the labyrinth of memories, facing secrets best left buried. The world around us rippled in anticipation, the shadows swirling as an echo of collective memories began to emerge. All it took was the truth flowing unrestrained, and with it, the intertwining of love and loss, and hope that would lead us safely toward redemption. With a resolute heart, I took a step forward, guided by voices that shaped our destinies, as we ventured deeper into what the past concealed. We would traverse the boundless dark, awaken the light within, and together, finally heal the realms of our entwined stories. And so we moved as one, our hearts aligned in a perfect cadence of compassion, diving into the depths of the past with the strength of our collective love, as one sorrow turned into symphony, finally ready to shatter the shadows that had imprisoned us for far too long. In that moment of transcendent connection, as the storm outside roared in furious protest, I sensed that we would find the truth together, and perhaps, in doing so, we would unlock the chains that tethered Eva's spirit to this world, letting love illuminate the darkest corners of our hearts with a lasting promise of hope and healing. For we were reclaiming not just Eva's story, but our own, a journey carved from the echoes of time and yet filled with the shimmering promise of what lay ahead. As we embraced the shadows, the final twist revealed itself. Love, in all its forms, would be our greatest unifier, a power that, when fully accepted, allowed us to transform the darkest of legacies into the brightest futures. And we would not stumble. We would rise, heart wide open, entwined in the promise of light. Together, I whispered again, the word a solemn vow shared amongst us, always together. For even in the depths of despair, we found ourselves cradled in forgiveness, bathed in the light of hope, and knowing that love, resilient and fierce, cast an unwavering glow into the darkest nights.